Who? Okay. Oh, clerk has to turn on the. I mean, she just. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You're on.
I'm ready to roll.
You're on.
Okay. Let me make sure. So, ooh, this is what I'm talking about. This thing happened. All right. So first on the agenda is an ordinance amendment to Chapter 9, which relates to animals and fowl. So in our Thursday, in our public safety meeting, Miss Darlene Jones, Chief Code Compliance Officer, made reference to the fact that the city of Ben Harbor currently has chickens in it. And that she's getting a lot of complaints from residents, neighbors of the properties that have these chickens in them. And when we read the ordinance, if you read the ordinance as it's currently written, section 9.9-3, so it says, no person shall harbor any bees, swine, foxes, goats, horses, mules, cattle, poultry, pigeons, rabbits, guinea pigs, or minks in the city without first obtaining a permit. And the permit, if you look at the next part of it, talks about the permit fee being $10, and that the building official, as well as the director of public works, has to go out and make sure that that is something that we want to do. It's able to accommodate. What we're recommending is that we completely strike all of this. And what the revision would be is that section 9.1 would say, no person shall keep or house any animals or domestic fowl within the city except dogs, cats, birds, or animals commonly classified as pets. Stop. That's the end of it. That would be the end of it. The second part, which would be 9.3, would be, no person shall harbor or keep any bees, swine, foxes, goats, horses, mules, cattle, poultry, pigeons, rabbits, pigs, or mink in the city, period. That would be just the end of it. So the part that we would be taking out is without first obtaining a permit. We would strike all of 9-4, which is the permit process. And then 9.5, the revocation, city commission shall have the authority to revoke any permit granted under, that needs to be stricken. I didn't do that. That needs to be stricken as well. So I'll modify this and get it so when we have it for the vote. Because what should happen is it should say the city it should not have anything reference to a permit being granted. So that should have been stricken out. So that's what I wanted to show you, but I didn't do that. And then in 9-8, maintaining a nuisance, where it says, no person shall harbor or keep any animal which causes annoyance to the neighborhood, either by, and there's a list of them, and we're striking the bees, because we wouldn't have bees in the city.
Right.
So that is, and then also, we changed the word police to public safety officer, as well as take such action as chief of police would now be public safety director in the bottom part of 9-8 subsection 5. So the only thing that, again, section 9-5, the entirety of that section would be stricken because there would be no revoking of any license because there would be no license issued.
So do we have any properties that's considered city, but it's kind of rural,
No.
that have?
We have no agriculturally zoned property in the city.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, are there properties that have them? I know we've heard about people having chickens, but are there some that's far enough out?
No.
That there's
All the ones that are on the extremity of the city are either undeveloped or it's the airport.
There's a lady that lives down the street from me in the township. She has goats.
Exactly, right on Orchard.
Yes. That roam in between the properties and they eat up all. She has goats.
Oh, yeah.
They're in the township though.
Correct, exactly. So when you look at the township and the entirety of the township, there are sections of the township that
allows
farm.
okay.
So there is a a law called the Right to Farm Act that speaks specifically to what you're talking about, Commissioner Henderson, where what is happening is that communities are spreading out into rural areas. And so what urban people are complaining about is the smell from the cattle, smell from horses and things of that nature. Well, what the law has done is said if you're using it to farm, which means that you're gonna gain money from it, then you're exempt from the nuisance, from being a nuisance. But if you're not, you can't just harbor them as pets.
But if they were growing chickens to eat them, they could do that.
If they were selling the eggs, if they were
Okay,
selling
you
them,
can
sell
do that,
people.
so it doesn't eliminate that
Correct,
part.
correct.
Okay.
We can't restrict that, because that is what the state law says.
That's
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I was just wanting
Yep.
to be clear about, so people
Yep.
can grow to
If they're using it for the purposes of farming,
farm.
yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
So I'm just curious, since we're taking out the application for permit, do we have any stats on like how many people have applied for these? Is it something that's very popular?
Nobody has, but people have brought, chickens into the city.
Yeah, I believe one lives near me.
It
Is that
is-
a rooster that clucks? What clucks?
Chickens.
Chicken.
Okay, so yeah, I
Yeah.
can.
Roosters
Chickens
crow.
or
Roosters
wild
crow.
turkeys.
Roosters crow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wild turkeys.
Yeah.
in some areas.
Well, and the turkeys, again, the turkeys are not being brought to the community.
Right,
They're just roaming because that's what they do. But these are literally chickens being brought into the city. And like I said, a number of neighbors are complaining about the roosters crowing in the mornings and the noise that's being exhibited by these animals. So we will again notify the public and let everyone know that that is not allowed in the city.
Michael Hoy, 972 Pavone, property owner, taxpayer. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we already have a huge beekeeper here no more than a block away
Oh, Lord.
in one of our buildings.
Really?
Yes.
Who was that?
And they are extracting honey quite often.
Who was that?
So for that purpose, that if they're
They're
extracting,
inside a building and they are they are beehives.
correct, so if you're an authorized beekeeper
Oh.
and you are,
That's why I want to get some clarification here.
if you're extracting honey for the purposes of selling, I'm assuming that's what they're doing.
I don't know if they're selling, I know what they're doing.
Okay, so that, they would be covered under the state law. But people just keeping bees around for the purposes of just doing it, yeah.
Okay, so this is the IGA building? IGA, the old IGA right down here, or?
It's a meadery. He's making mead
Where is this at now?
right here. Where the old
Next to the gas station.
the food pantry.
The old Bibco building,
Yeah,
the big one, okay. He's doing what now?
he's making mead.
No.
And what is
I
it?
have gotten honey from this gentleman.
Yeah, you can do that too. He's making,
Okay.
but that's his primary function. He makes
Okay.
mead and then sells it down in
What
Sawyer.
is mead?
Mead is
Illiterate.
like wine and beer from honey
That's
instead
what
Okay.
of grapes.
But I just want to get some clarification.
So again, if the purpose of what they're doing falls under farming,
Okay,
they're exempt from this.
wonderful.
Yep,
So you can actually be a beekeeper in the city of Benton Harbor.
correct.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great. But you cannot have a rabbit in the city of Benton Harbor?
No, rabbits are okay. What we
You
did,
can't farm them.
you can't farm them.
Got that.
Yes, so if you have rabbits as pets, which you can go to the store and buy a rabbit as a pet.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Yeah,
so
but,
not pets, but
Correct.
farming or yes.
Correct.
You understand?
but if you have a rabbit farm for the purposes of selling the fur,
Yeah.
completely
falls under completely different jurisdiction.
So the gentleman who I've been getting my honey from, I'm not doing anything illegal, all right?
So,
Wonderful, thank you very much.
I think that's the production of beer and stuff like that.
correct, yep,
You ready to move this forward down? Good. All right.
all right.
Moving that forward, Madam Clerk.
Before you move it any further, can I ask a question? The animals and the fowl on the ordinance, is this something that's gonna be concerned J. Clark Park and the dogs on the park, on the beach?
No, we've already passed that, that's already been done.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
All right, then,
just
just
got
Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item is is adding to the city ordinance currently. We do not have, as a city, any ordinances pertaining to food trucks. Food trucks are becoming a hot ticket item right now. And we need to provide some regulations for them, because right now they don't have any. And what this ordinance is an attempt to do, again, they're adding to the ordinance, is to identify them and to give some parameters in which they can operate. So just as highlights, if you will, wrong page, this one. For the purposes of this, they're called special transitory food units. And what we're talking about are permitted locations. So operating a special transitory food unit shall be permitted on office, commercial, and industrial zone property. So we're kind of limiting where they can operate, with the exception that operating a special transitory food truck shall be permitted on church, school, and city-owned property parks, regardless of the zoning. So we're giving them some latitude to operate, but we're trying to restrict where they are so that they're not just popping up in the neighborhoods. They're not just popping up in areas that really wouldn't be advantageous for them to be in.
So what about the ice cream truck? Do they have one of those licenses too? Because
So-
they just do that.
The ice cream truck gets a peddler's license that
Okay.
he or she, that they go through the neighborhoods and do. Food trucks are a little bit different. And what food trucks are doing are they're preparing food to be sold to the general public. So right now, there is nothing that speaks to them about getting the health department involved.
That's right.
There's nothing that speaks to them about sales tax that they would have to pay. There's nothing about registering with the city when they get ready to come in.
Right, right.
There isn't. So this is the purpose, that's the purpose behind this. Not to keep anybody from doing it,
Right.
but to allow people to do it and have some structure around it.
Right.
So where it says exceptions to license requirements, so if you're operating a food truck for a period of 2 days or less on city-owned properties, including city parks, subject to the approval of the city manager, operating a special transitory food truck for a period of 2 days or less on a church, school property conducted in conjunction with a special event at church or school, the exemption shall apply to 3 special events or less per year. Veterans who have been issued a license by the county clerk pursuant to Public Act 359 of 1921. So there are veterans that can get that, and so they will not have to have that be required to get the permit.
Makes sense.
The fees would be an application for a license under this ordinance shall be accompanied by a fee in the amount established in the schedule of fees adopted by the city commission. There should be no proration of fees. Fees are non-refundable once a license is issued by code compliance. The other thing is a sales tax license. So if they are charging sales tax, they need to have that shown. And that's just saying that, we're just reiterating that. That's a state law.
Right.
It's just basically saying that you have to have it present. So that if one of the code compliance
Right.
come by and say, yep, you are okay. And that's pretty much
So
the
so
highlights.
parade day is one of those days the truck can
So-
operate.
Exactly. So the parade day is a special event that we have designated that you get a peddler's license for the day, and you can operate your food truck for that special event. But these are people who are doing it outside of special events that are, this is their money, this is their livelihood. So this will give them some parameters to know what and how you operate.
But they still have to be, the health department still has to.
That is
come out
correct.
And all of that anyway.
That is correct. They have to have there are things that they have to do from the health standpoint. They have to do stuff at the state level.
Right,
We're just trying to let them know, here's where you can operate, here's what you need to do.
right, so it's still it's in compliance with the state.
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
just creating some more.
We're just further defining what, yep,
Got it.
that's exactly correct.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
I'm sorry, from the panel first and then citizens.
Thank you all. Good evening to everyone, through the chair. Question is there, say like you're giving us, say I give a special event in the park. The person who is hosting that event, is there a limit to how many vendors can be at that one event?
So under the vending ordinance, which is section 330, there is what's called a master vending permit. So if you have an event like that, and you want to have vendors which aren't specifically, food trucks, so you could have people who sell purses, people who sell, it would fall under that, and it would be for that specific day, and there is no limit on it as it sits right now.
Okay,
So you can have 7 to 10, but they fall under the master. You have to go to code compliance, get a master vendor's permit, which is for the day, i.e. like the Blues Fest does. Mr. Lee gets a permit for that day, and then he has vendors that come onto that are there for his event.
now, so the fee is still in for a vet, but the license is free for vets?
The permit, there is no
Permit, I mean,
permit fee for
the permit.
veterans that are registered veterans. Exactly.
And the fee is separate?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Mr. Hood?
Yes, I got a couple questions on this one. Is the peddlers, is that on our website? People can go see what the peddlers license and permits and things of that nature?
That is on the website under the code compliance drop-down bar.
Perfect. And the special permit, is that also on there?
Yep, special permits, all of the permits that you can get are on the website under code compliance, public safety, so it's there.
Wonderful. And you brought up a really great question about tax. When they come to get a permit or a special use permit, are they then registering as a business in the city of Benton Harbor for that day? Are we gonna be able to see what their revenue is of that day, and how do they report those revenues for that day? And how are we watching the revenues for that day? How are we capturing the revenues for that day? If you just could share that through the chair.
So, as a business, when you register as a business, you have to register with the state of Michigan. So once you register with the state of Michigan, you then come to the city of Benton Harbor. You will then have to register as a business. And then subsequent to that, you're gonna have to pay income tax. You're gonna have to pay, if you have sales tax that you're charging. So a lot of people don't charge sales tax, but some do. But if you're gonna do that, you have to register that with the state of Michigan, and you get a license for it, and you have to do that. So, yeah, they will be registered as a business in the city as well.
One last question. Just because I sat with the board over the library for the art hop, they're gonna have a food truck here that goes along with the library. It's with the library.
Right.
And those funds are gonna be, helping with the library. Does that, because you said churches,
Yep,
Special event?
so special event.
but you said churches and something else. I just wanna know if they're gonna, even though this hasn't passed yet,
It is,
2
so,
days or less, churches, school properties.
school properties was the other one.
churches, school properties, it does not speak about nonprofits.
Wouldn't it be considered a special event
It
though?
would be considered a special event though, because you're having an event that's a one-day event
Right.
or a couple-day event. So the exemption to the license requirement says if you have a special event for 2 days or less, you don't have to get a license.
Perfect. Good.
I don't think we should distinguish between nonprofits. I think we should keep it a special event.
It just, the way it's written now, it says special event, 2 days or less, you don't have to get a license.
Right,
And this-
Anything beyond that,
right, you have to get
Yeah.
a license.
And this will be in compliance also with Gene Clark Park. It would be the umbrella for all parks, including Gene Clark
Sure.
Park, right?
it will, all places in the city of
For the
Benton.
marathon, for
Yep.
everything that happens, they'll probably already get a master.
They get a master
They get a
vendor's
master
permit, and then they have people out there,
Sure,
yes. Yep,
For insurance purposes, for a lot of things.
absolutely. There are parameters and criterion for when you when you do stuff like that. When we have an event, for example, with the Blues Fest,
Right.
the triathlon, or anything where you've got a gathering of a large amount of people, part of the application process is you have to present your insurance, and you have to do all the things that are necessary if you're gonna have vendors. It's explained in the document.
Right, which is a
Okay.
hefty amount.
Mhm.
It's a hefty amount. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to know what kind of fee is attached to that broad
to the master,
master,
and
yeah.
that's only for larger events.
Well,
People
what kind
have-
of fee is attached to that? Is it enough, or is it what? Because a lot of people come and they make a lot of money on their events.
I'm trying to pull up my fee schedule real
I know,
quick.
I was just trying to keep conversation.
Oh, I got you.
And so, I just wanna make sure that we get the best bang. When you call Jean Clark Park out, one of our biggest contributor to the general fund, I just have to make sure that we're protecting Jean Clark Park and our resources that come in off of it.
Wow, where is it at? Hold on just a second. It's ironic you talk about it, Commissioner, because we actually talk about the fee schedule at personnel finance.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's coming up,
Yeah.
huh?
I'm trying to see if I can find it quickly, but I know that that's one of the items that's gonna be on the agenda for personnel finance, is the fee schedule in its entirety.
Have we already started getting people signed up? Have we accepted applications for any of
For,
any parks, any?
there are some that are on the books for Jean Clark Park, and I think there's maybe one or two for the other parks, not as many. But, again, they got it under the fee schedule.
They got it under old fee.
Yeah, we need to change that. We need to look at the fee schedules to see fee schedule to see what it is.
All right,
Yep,
kinda late, huh? $1 late.
yeah, just a half a minute. Just a half a second.
So on the next, for the ones that, we'll have, so did you want to bring, we need to bring this forward. Will you include a fee schedule in here?
I will have
That'll be
a fee and an application, you'll have an application, and a fee will be on there, recommended with this. That, I'm sorry, I didn't provide, I'm sorry.
Is it, what, $200-300
The,
master?
so right now, the vending permit for, under the vending is, I think it's $500 for the entire year, if you wanna vend.
Okay.
Now, the crazy part about it is you probably get 6 months out the year. And, so that's one of the things we need to look at, because what we've had is some people have complained about that they go to neighboring municipalities and it's a little lower. So it'll be brought to the committee and the commission, and again, we'll ask for recommendations.
Okay.
And we'll have comparisons, because that's one of the big ones, is the vending ordinance, and the master vendor is one that's up under that ordinance, and like I said, can't pull my fees up real quick. But we're gonna talk about that at Commissioner Isom's, personnel finance, absolutely.
All right,
Yep.
so do we, agree to move this item forward?
Yes.
All right, well, yes. Madam Clerk, we're gonna move it forward. Is there any other questions or any other questions? All right, this committee
Announcement.
meeting is adjourned.
Announcement.
About,
Clean up Sunday morning, cause everybody's don't know my Facebook. But
you won't ever see me on Sunday morning cleaning up. Ever. I love you, but I ain't gonna be
Who
able
is it
to.
not on Sunday morning?
No Sunday morning.